Welcome back to the Links Golf Podcast. I'm Al Lunsford, digital editor for Links, joined by Joe Passoff as we both sit here and watch the PGA Tour on ESPN. Kind of a strange thing. Should be strange. It hasn't happened in 2 decades. Obviously, there's tour coverage on the ESPN Plus or whatever it's called these days, the premium version. You can go and access tour coverage, but we're watching it live on cable right now. The Farmers Insurance at Torrey Pines. Cool to see, and it's very appropriate as we plan to talk a little bit about the PGA Tour season, some LPGA. Obviously, Links, we don't cover day-to-day tournament coverage, but Joe and I remain invested in watching the PGA Tour on a regular basis. And so we wanted to give our thoughts, some predictions about how things will shake out in the majors, what we like outside of the major championships, and as we do at Links, we talk about a few of the courses we're excited to see. So, Joe, welcome to another professional golf season. We're glad you're here to view it with us.
Well, Al, I appreciate the kind hello handshake for this new PGA Tour season. We're a couple of events underway. And one of the things I think, whether we do a great deal of PGA Tour coverage or some PGA Tour coverage, what we typically focus on at Links is the where to play aspects. And unquestionably, just because a PGA Tour event takes place at a certain golf course doesn't do anything necessarily for the architecture of that golf course. It could talk about setups or say reducing a par 5 to a par 4, but a big part of why we care, because A, we love the game and we love watching the best players in the world compete, but also when you do get to play a PGA Tour course, there is something that seeps in, that enters into your brain, your heart, your feelings, that say, I'm glad I'm here. I'm curious. I've watched a lot of my heroes play golf here. I want to follow in those famous footsteps. There's a certain familiarity that just makes you smile a little bit, that comes with familiarity. So, although we're not directly linked per se, we care about the PGA Tour and the venues where the PGA Tour plies their craft.
Yeah, there's cachet to it. If someone asks you, where have you played recently, and one of the places on your list has hosted a tour event, that immediately will grab someone's attention, even if they've never heard of a place. It hosted the da-da-da last year. I'm like, ooh, okay. Gotcha. So it must be worth something to have an event there. And yeah, if nothing else, we like seeing some of these places that are exclusive, just being able to get some sort of access into viewing what it's like to play those places by watching the best in the world do it. We are sponsored this season, Joe, by a place that also hosts a professional event, a Corn Ferry Tour event, the Club Car Championship at the Landings is in March 23rd to 29th. You can go to the tournament website and see just exactly how far we are from that day. There is a countdown on the homepage, should you be so interested. But played on the Deer Creek course at the Landings. What is the Landings? If you've never heard of it, it's a private residential golf and athletic club about 12 miles outside of historic Savannah, Georgia. Joe, I think you've been before. It's kind of baffling how big this place is. It's around 5,000 acres, and it is home to 6 golf courses, 2 designed by the King, Arnold Palmer, some other great names in that list. I'm just going to rifle off some stats for you just to, get a sense of this scale of this place. Among 6 golf courses, you got 31 tennis courts, 15 pickleball courts, 8 bocce, becoming a very popular amenity, 10 dining options, 4 clubhouses, 5 pools, and a 52,000 square foot wellness center. All of that making it one of the most desirable residential golf and athletic and social clubs in all of the Southeast. Thank you for the sponsorship this season. The Landings, you can visit thelandings.com/golf to learn more about the courses there. And again, view or go to the Club Car Championship in late March at the Landings.
Well, Al, yeah, a little pause there, but I was thinking about a good friend of mine. He's actually the brother of one of my very best friends, uh, and a guy who knows his way around golf. Grew up in Philadelphia, had access to all the courses, and makes many trips overseas. Was a member of the most prestigious ranking panel and lived in the mid-Atlantic for a few years. And when it was time to say, I want to slow down a little bit, but I want golf and water. I mean, this is a guy that's seen every great golf course, and he found his dream home on behalf of he and his wife at the Landings. And that was about a year ago. And, again, you can't have a much better endorsement than that. Guy who's seen it all, who knows golf, and that was his dream landing spot, was the Landings. So, hats off to that amazing community.
Imagine living somewhere and having 6 golf courses at your disposal that most of the people there, when you're there, you just get around by golf cart. It's one of those types of communities, and you can even drive to the grocery store in your golf cart there. But 6 different courses you can play as a member out there. Uh, Certainly can't say that about that. Very few places can boast anything close to that. So again, they host a pro tournament. Let's talk some pro golf, Joe. We're going to do this. The format for today, we've got essentially 5, or maybe call it 5.5 topics to cover. We're going to talk about courses that we're looking forward to seeing, the best non-major that we like to watch each year, and then make some predictions about the majors, breakout players of the year, and overall who we think is going to be the best player on the PGA Tour this year. Our first topic, though, we're going to talk PGA Tour, and we're going to mix in LPGA. It's fun to look at their schedule as well and follow along. I don't think either of us follow closely enough to make predictions about major winners or comeback and breakout player of the year there. So this first topic we're just going to cover with the 2 tours and then move on and just do the men's. But the courses we're most looking forward to watching the pros play this year. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get the chance to go to any golf tournament. Obviously, we have a couple in the Carolinas that are close by, and we get to the Masters every year. But let's start with you, Joe. On the PGA Tour this year, what are the venues that caught your eye that you're really looking forward to seeing?
Well, Al, I've got 2 of them that stand out to me on the PGA Tour. And the first one is Shinnecock Hills Golf Club. Not technically a PGA Tour event. It will host the U.S. Open this year, a USGA National Championship, but included in the PGA Tour points and standings and all the rest of it. Okay, Shinnecock, not brand new, obviously. We were last there in 2018, but Shinnecock stands out to me, and I get excited whenever I have a chance to be there in person, covering a tournament, playing it, or watching it on television. And part of that is because its stock has risen through the stratosphere over the years, between a quiet old private club that wasn't on too many radar screens in the 1960s and 70s, to clearly one of the 5 best courses in the United States, often ranked among the top 5 in the world. Okay, so what do I have to say about Shinnecock that might be a little fresh and different? I'll get to that, I promise. It's just when I look at people's opinions, who I respect on golf courses, um, I think of Johnny Miller, who I once did a uh, preview story for the 1995 U.S. Open. And then 10 years later, he wrote a book. And in that book, he said, for a long time, I thought no course could ever surpass Pebble Beach. Then came the 1986 U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills on the eastern end of Long Island. After that week, Shinnecock nudged out Pebble and became my favorite course in the world. And I fell in love with it, even though I didn't play very well there. Greg Norman, a guy who finished tied for second at that tournament in 86, told me about 10 years ago, ranked it as the second most that influenced him in design philosophy. Shinnecock is the hardest, fairest tournament course in the world. The great thing is that you could go there tomorrow and play a major tournament. The course is that good every day. Shinnecock is a very difficult golf course to play off the tee because the fairways have so much movement in them. You can't really get a clear perception of depth where you want the ball to finish. That is a very difficult task, and that is what makes it a great golf course. Okay, so these two guys happen to play a little better than I do, but the point is there, and the point I wanted to make is something that I almost brought up when you and I were talking just before New Year's about our wish list for 2026. And that is, please, USGA, your setup people, get it right this time. I believe this is the best tournament golf course in the world. It is really difficult, but fair, just hard enough. Trajectory matters because it's usually windy. It's close to the sea. You have a variety of lies and stances. Otherwise, there's nothing tricked up about it other than when you get it too close to the edge based on the conditions. That happened in 2004 when play was halted at the par 3 seventh hole because well-struck shots wouldn't hold the green and well-struck putts rolled off the green. It happened again in 2018. Wind blew stronger than we expected. We shouldn't have mowed it. We shouldn't have rolled it. Carnage on Saturday, making the game's best players look stupid and foolish. I don't like that. I don't think anybody really does. I think we want to see the best tested to their limits, but when it's still a fair test and not an unfair crapshoot. So I'm looking forward most to seeing Shinnecock Hills, and hopefully it will a little wind blowing and a perfect setup that lets the guys play one of the greatest golf courses in the world.
Yeah, everyone remembers the Phil Mickelson hitting the moving ball moment from 2018, that Saturday. That is probably the thing that everyone remembers most the last time the U.S. Open was there. Um, what you may have forgotten, the winning score, +1. Brooks Koepka taking away the victory. Very appropriate that we get the Brooks Koepka coming back to the tour announcement. Also in that top 5, finishing solo fourth, Patrick Reed. So two guys coming back from Live, Shinnecock on the schedule. Good vibes going back to that place for those two. We'll see. I don't know. I don't think Reed's eligible to play in that U.S. Open at this point, but obviously open qualifier. We'll see what happens. Yeah, that
And
I think that one's. Go ahead.
right. And Reed has been actually earning world ranking points because he's been playing a heavy schedule with these DP World Tour events, including winning in Dubai just a week ago. So there's a good chance that he might wind up at Shinnecock.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
we will have to see.
circled in red, obviously on everyone's golf calendar this year as one of those to watch, to look forward to. 6th time it's hosting a U.S. Open, and we have it at number 6 in the world on our Links 100, number 4 in the Links 100 US, speaking to the rankings you were talking
Okay.
about.
Al, I've got one more golf course that I'm going to identify that I'm looking forward to seeing, whether in person or on television. That is Medina number three in suburban Chicago, which will host the President's Cup this year in September. And we listed that about a year ago as one of our 10 courses to watch for the next Links 100 because it had just undergone a complete transformation. And so the architects did not have a chance to vote on that version of it. So Medina number three, all that history, US Opens, PGAs, uh, pretty famous Ryder Cup in 2012. It was a staple of top 100 lists for decades, primarily because it was so difficult. Um, but it's also been a bit of a mutt architecturally. Debuted in 1932, had significant changes carried out in the 1980s and the 90s by Roger Packard, then Rees Jones. So it didn't really have a true architectural identity by that point, even though it was kind of the best facility, clubhouse and all for hosting big tournaments in Chicago. Most recently, alterations were carried out by the Australian firm of Jeff Ogilvy, Ogilvy, Cocking and Mead, and completed in 2024. The changes have been pretty well received. Gone is the layout where Tiger and Sergio dueled in 1999, and in its stead, something more varied, more thought-provoking. They created a fistful of new holes, redesigned others. Fairways have more width, greens have more contouring, and the course boasts more strategic interest. I'm excited to see it come September.
Very curious. We have moments over the years from Medina, um, the '99 PGA Championship and the Sergio tree, all that, which is now gone. But I'm just curious to see this place. That there are rave reviews from OCM's updates, but we won't really get a glimpse other than photography until we get to that President's Cup, which again is September, late September.
Late September. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Al, you've got a couple of golf courses you're looking forward to in the PGA Tour season.
I am. I sure am. It was great to see. Speaking of a course that just got recently updated, it's great to go see Harbor Town and the updates there. What Davis Love and Love Golf Design did there. So I'm looking forward to seeing Harbor Town this year, just to get that commentary from the players, how they receive those updates. We can look at it and say, not much looks different. Everything's sharper and cleaner, and couple touch ups, couple noticeable differences, but nothing really major. I'm just curious to get the pros' take on it. It's great to have the RBC Heritage as a signature event now, so we really get the top level guys coming in. That was always a difficult thing the week after the Masters, where this falls on the calendar. So yeah, for all those reasons, I know Harbor Town, and it's not a Shinnecock or a Medina where we just haven't seen it in a long time, but we are seeing a new-ish version of the place. So that will be fun to see. Honorable mention for me are a couple that are hosting for the first time the PGA Tour event. That's because there is a new event on the schedule, and this would be talking about the Cliffs at Walnut Cove in Asheville, the Biltmore Championship, Asheville. So Jack Nicklaus design there that just got added to the calendar the week before the President's Cup is when they'll be playing there. And the Good Championship. There's certain to be some different styles of content coming when that gets to the calendar in November at Omni Barton Creek in Austin, Texas. So they're playing the Fazio Canyons course there. Two places that I couldn't really tell you anything about. So it'll be excited to see what they decide to do to promote those events, and then ultimately the play. Remains to be seen what those fields look like. You're creeping into the fall. Might not be your elite fields going there, but it will be fun to see something new in both of those events.
Most definitely. Yeah, I mean, everybody always has a curiosity factor when a tour chooses a new golf course or it's a new tournament entirely. And of course, there was a lot of activity over the years at Omni Barton Creek, having the PGA Tour champions play there for many years. And I think both Fazio courses were utilized at different times. Could be wrong. It might have been just the older one, the Fazio Foothills, but Fazio Canyons was inevitably the highest ranked course of all the courses there, and would invariably wind up in all the top 100 public courses, top 100 resort courses kind of thing. So that will be fun to see. No question about that. And then the Cliffs, what can you say? That was kind of the go communities of the 90s, and into the next decade, into pretty much until the real estate slump of 2008 that affected everybody, East and West. But up till that point, the Cliffs was just gigantic. And it was different since, say, the Landings and Desert Mountain, because it was spread at a number of different campuses. So you actually had Cliffs communities in South Carolina and North Carolina, and tremendous variety between the different facilities and the different golf courses. So it's earned its stripes in a variety of ways, and it will definitely be fun. Asheville, one of the great cities in the United States, and good to have big time golf coming back there.
Yeah, so there you got, Omni Barton Creek, one that the public can play, the Cliffs behind a private gate. So juxtaposition there of two different types of venues. Quickly, let's go to the LPGA, looking at their schedule and what popped out for you there.
Yeah, the top one for me, in terms of curiosity, will be the Sharon Heights Golf and Country Club in Menlo Park, California, a suburb of San Francisco. Um, Actually, just as close to San Jose, kind of in the Silicon Valley. And it will host for the first time the Fortinet Founders Cup in March, which had moved to New Jersey after starting off for a number of years in the Phoenix Scottsdale area. So Sharon Heights, an awful lot of well-known tournament courses in the Bay Area. This is not as well known, but I had the chance to play it uh, about 15, 16 months ago. And wow, always a club again for, um, let's say, folks with some tech money, shall we say. So it was always an incredibly well-to-do club, and the home club growing up of Maverick McNeely. And he and his dad, many, many happy rounds playing there. Well, what happened was it was basically just, of course, narrowed by trees, very hilly. And the wonderful underrated architect, Todd Eckenrode, Origins Golf, his team was enlisted to come in, um, keep a bunch of the redwoods that frame the fairways, but reroute the golf course, yank out some of the other trees that were just clogging play and causing shade issues, uh, taking the very repetitive greens and recontouring them, again, a new routing in parts, and then just spicing and sprucing up the bunkers, giving them a more recognizable classic style. Of course, new turf, new irrigation, all the rest. Um, that is pretty much close to a complete makeover without it being a brand new golf course. So I'm excited to see that one. Sharon Heights gets a little shine in the spotlight for that. After that, Riviera. Yes, we are familiar with Riviera
Yeah.
from every single year, enjoying it for the LA Open. But one of the fun things is the women get to play Riviera, and that will come in June for the U.S. Women's Open. Great to have the most prestigious women's tournament go to one of the great tournament courses anywhere. And it'll also be fun for golf fans, not only to see the women get to play such a story test, but it's in June. There will be leaves on the trees. It will play different, including some of the wind, as opposed to what we see it every year in early February when the PGA Tour visits. Finally, I will toss out Bernardus. Why am I tossing out Bernardus? Not many of you have heard of it. It is in the Netherlands, and it will host the Solheim Cup in late September. Um, Start off with the fact that it's a Kyle Phillips design, really one of the wonderful golf course architects, whether original designs or renovation restoration. This is an original, took a number of years to complete, finally opened in 2016, hosted three European Tour events, DP World Tour, Dutch Open, basically. And it's just big, brawny, Heathland looking golf. Big ragged edge bunkers, good movement to the greens, heath transplanted, and a sandy site. Very cool combination when you think about sort of a classic Heathland golf course, just big scale. So I'm excited to see Bernardus when the Solheim Cup takes place there in September.
Yeah, I love that. I've got two for you, and they fall in the same month. They're actually back to back in May on the LPGA, which appears to be the month of Donald Ross because we've got three in a row uh, LPGA events on Donald Ross designed golf courses. It begins May 7th through 10th at a club that is underrated in its area of West Caldwell, New Jersey. Mountain Ridge Country Club, Joe, has quite the history. Yes, it is a Donald Ross course, but they had a previous iteration of this golf course that was looked at, touched by the likes of Tillinghast and Rayner and George Banks and Walter Travis. And ultimately now they have a Ross course that has been updated in recent years by Andrew Green. So we saw what he was able to do up at Oak Hill, similar environs maybe to Rochester in the New Jersey area. The Mountain Ridge Clubhouse, designed by the same guy who did Wingfoot's Clubhouse, which people will know very well. So that is one of those, under the radar, really good golf courses that has some tournament history, but hasn't really seen anything in recent years. The LPGA did have the Founders Cup there in 2021. So Mountain Ridge, I'm really excited to see that, knowing what Andrew Green is capable of. And then the week after, the tour ships over to Cincinnati for the Kroger Queen City Championship, presented by P&G at Maketawa Country Club, I believe it's pronounced. Another Donald Ross design, updates by Brian Silva, and this is a Ross Bindelow effort that Cincinnati, always one of the best crowds on the LPGA in that area. For some reason, that Central Ohio, Toledo, Cincinnati, great crowds. So looking forward to seeing those back to back. And then they go to a familiar venue in Galloway, New Jersey at Seaview. It's like in New Jersey, Ohio, New Jersey, all Donald Ross in the month of May, with a week between those final two events. But yeah, the Mizuho America's Open, Kroger Queen City Championship, and then the ShopRite.
Man, I share your excitement for May, for the LPGA Tour and for golf architecture fans to be able to see these tournaments in person or on television. Mountain Ridge is fabulous. Under the radar to an extent, it did host a couple of USGA events within the past 15 years. But yeah, there's just so many great golf courses in the Met area. It's easy for a mountain range to slip under the radar. I was curious when I saw that Andrew Green had signed on in 2022 to do a restoration, further work, because in 2012, they just did a massive renovation restoration by Ron Pritchard.
Hmm.
It was very well received. I had the chance to play it. In fact, played it twice within 5 years. Really enjoyed it. Clubhouse is fabulous. Food was excellent, but the golf course was marvelous. Um, and I think it was, again, folks, thumbs up to what Ron Pritchard did. So I think there's also a situation where Ron Pritchard it was not doing this next version because Ron Pritchard is retired. And that's why Gil Hanse wound up doing the work at Aroniming, even though Ron Pritchard's previous work had been really well received. The other thing is sometimes when renovation work gets done, restoration, there is only enough money in a given budget as voted by the club to get certain things done. Yeah. Even though you kind of wanted to go a little further, the budget said, let's just do this and take care of this. And I can't swear that's the case at Mountain Ridge, but it is a possibility. Why would you then do more work 10 years later? That could be a reason. But Andrew Green came into Mountain Ridge and said, he's he's restored a lot of Ross courses, and he was blown away by the quality, the collection of the greens at Mountain Ridge. So busy guy, but he said, "Yeah, I'd like to do this one." And everybody is curious when Andrew Green winds up doing a restoration, especially of a Donald Ross course. And and Al, that a brief word on Maketawa, which I'm not sure if we're pronouncing it right, but I mean it's close enough for our purposes. Brian Silva was and is a New Englander who just teamed up with a longtime associate, Brian Johnson, to form a firm. Um, and what you have in Brian Silva was a guy who was restoring Ross courses a whole generation before the new guys came along. So it's good to see that Brian's still active in this. Um, Being from New England, he's seen all the great Ross courses and worked on a number of them. So I would think that this is going to be wonderful for people to see a very, very low key, nobody knows much about it outside the region golf course like Maketawa.
There seems to be more than any other architect, Donald Ross restoration experts. Do you find that? Do you think it's because of the sheer volume of the amount of Donald Ross courses that there are, or what's there? It's not like there's a ton of Seth Rayner experts or specialists, but there's not a ton of Seth Rayner courses. So maybe it's just
Correct.
volume over and notoriety of Ross and do you think what it is?
Absolutely, Al. I think you're correct in your speculations. And we had Chris Spence on the podcast
Right.
not long ago, and Chris is an acknowledged Ross restoration expert. Although Chris, being based in the Southeast, if you will, um, probably more specializes in the Southeast Ross courses.
Mhm.
And there are others, include even though Andrew Green's only one state away. Um, and there are others, Brian
Yeah.
Silva and so forth,
Kyle
that get.
Franz, I mean, Mid
Yep.
Pines, Pine Needles. So
I just
plenty of
think the
guys.
sheer volume, I mean, to call yourself a Mackenzie restoration expert, we only did a handful of courses in the U.S.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody specializing that in the UK, haven't seen too much of that.
Maybe one day there will be a lot of Jack Nicklaus restoration experts. Right now, the Nicklaus restoration expert is Jack Nicklaus. So
There you go.
can't do much there. All right, moving on. We're going to do some talk. The next topic will be what's your on when you get on the PGA Tour calendar and you look outside of the majors, what are you most looking forward to from a non-major perspective?
Well, for the most part, I do look at the golf course. Where are they playing? And that gets me a little more excited, um, to watch the games best compete on the best stages. I'm always going to wave the flag. I can find a flag somewhere for my hometown event, the WM Phoenix Open. Uh, TPC Scottsdale is not a classic course from the Golden Age, but it's almost a classic in terms of spectator golf, because the Phoenix Open is home to the largest galleries on tour. And most years, they're able to accommodate almost an unlimited number of spectators and yet give a really fun, interesting test on the back nine where eagles and double bogeys can happen in equal measure. And so that just makes for stimulating golf. But after that, I'm going to pick two golf courses, two tournaments, if you will, because I love the golf courses and the small greens. We start with the AT&T Pebble Beach, the Old National Pro-Am. Always excited to see what Pebble Beach holds. Now they've cut back to just Pebble and Spyglass. Wow. I mean, two incredible golf courses. And Spyglass isn't as much weather dependent because the bulk of the holes, 6 through 18, play through the trees. It's going to block a lot of the wind. Pebble is a little more capricious in terms of, is it blowing? If it's blowing, how hard? Is it raining? Is it coming in sideways? What's going on? I love the fact that Rory McIlroy is going to defend at the AT&T at Pebble, and he now specifically identifies he wants to win on the great courses. He did that interview a week ago, and what's left for Rory? Hey, I want to win at St. Andrews. I want to win at Wingfoot. Like, this is his legacy, and I love the fact that he is putting those stages on a pedestal. He knocked that one off with Pebble Beach last year, and so I'm excited about that. And then the other course that I'm excited about in springtime, as you are, is Harbor Town. Fresh off that restoration, Davis Love contributing 5-time champion. Again, I like when there's some wind blowing. Guys have to adjust their trajectories, but it's just great, great, innovative Pete Dye, and I just get pumped up to watch it.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing Pebble every single year. Um, right there with you on Harbor Town. For me, I love getting to the spot on the schedule when we're playing the Memorial at Muirfield Village. So where it kind of falls, it gives us a nice bump between majors in the middle of the summer. So you have the PGA in May. You have to wait until mid-June to get to the U.S. Open, but at the beginning of June you have the Memorial, and I think this is a place, kind of like Harbor Town and like Pebble Beach. There's a certain reverence for the place and the tournaments. It's such a long-standing event at a very respected golf course. The meaning behind the tournament, memorializing someone who's made significant contributions to the game. The milkshakes, the course conditions, tight placement golf, where guys can get out of position, deal with some thick rough that they're not used to, smallish greens. It means something to win that golf tournament. It's kind of probably more so than the Heritage or maybe even the AT&T now. I think the Memorial and the Players are, from my perspective, those are kind of the top tier events that people want to win, if not a major championship. And this year, Scotty Scheffler has did defend last year. He's going for a three-peat, which has only been done by one man who he's often compared to, and that's Tiger Woods. So it will be incredible to see what the conversation turns to if he's able to do that. We talked about this podcast, and the PGA Tour season is already underway. There's been one winner on the year so far, and that's Scotty Scheffler. So, what can he do? You can't win them all unless you win the first. Uh, and he can't win them all. He's not entered into every single tournament. He's not playing at Torrey Pines right now. But what's his clip going to be? Starts to win ratio. How many times is he going to finish inside the top 10? And what's he going to do at Memorial this year when he's faced with the opportunity of a three-peat? It's going to be awesome.
Memorial is something I always look forward to as well. And I'll say this, for a number of years, um, the Players' Championship was considered the fifth major, uh, although it was not one of the official major championships. But between that and some others, the Memorial always felt more like a major championship because you had as good a field as you're going to find anywhere. And the golf course just looked like a traditional major championship golf course, the way a U.S. Open course or a PGA championship course would look. And of course, it does bear some resemblances to Augusta National. That was on purpose from Jack. And the fact that they are honoring Jack Nicklaus as well, not just the greatest players through it and journalists and others through a memorial, but this is Jack's event. And whether you believe that Tiger or Jack is the best player of all time, the man with the most majors is still Jack Nicklaus. And as Jack continues to celebrate birthdays, we continue to look at that and say, yeah, this is Jack right here. So the memorial means something to all of these guys.
For sure. The tournaments that mean the most are the major championships, obviously, Joe. Let's predict who's going to win those events. So write down the calendar, starting with the Masters. Who do you got winning in 2026?
Well, you remember the old argument that says Rory McIlroy should have won 5 Masters by now? His game is so perfect for that golf course. And he had won 0. Now he's won 1. Now all of the pressure is off. I'm looking for Rory McIlroy to go on a little run here and win again in 2026 at Augusta National.
I would love that. Opening the floodgates on Rory at Augusta. Uh, Pressure's off, I guess, to win one, but the pressure is just always there at the Masters. So, gosh, that would be something if he just starts going on a tear there. I like a guy who's played in the Masters twice and never finished outside the top 7. He was 7th last year, runner-up in 2024. Ludwig Oberg, I like him for the Masters. It feels like it's a matter of time with him. Obviously, the course suits him and his game, his demeanor, the patience that it takes to roll with the highs and lows out there at Augusta, not let it get to you so much. He seems to be as adept at that, maintaining and keeping as cool as anybody. So I like him this year. If not this year, I bet on him every single year. He's got to happen at some point for him, I believe, at Augusta.
So, Ludwig Oberg, I'm a golf fan. He's a rock star with golf fans and with the media. I get that. He looks the part. He hits the ball a hell of a long way. He has an seemingly unflappable demeanor, kind of the classic Scandinavian, like one of my early idols, Bjorn Borg. All of that is incredibly appealing. He usually winds up in the hunt time after time after time in big tournaments. And you know what hasn't happened so far, Al? Is he hasn't finished enough. And And I'm okay with that. It's just like lower the temperature a little bit, the adulation for Ludwig. Um, I'm keep waiting for him to back this up with 3 wins a year and a major or a semi-major. And he just kind of floats around and up and bobbing like a apple in the water. And then there it is, a seventh, a third, a 12th, whatever it is. So he's got a ton of time. And if he stays healthy, he's going to win all of these things, but I'm not ready to crown him just yet.
I think this could be a similar situation where it's a floodgates scenario. Um, he broke through at the RSM in 23, and last year he won the Genesis at Riviera. I mean, that's a pretty big event. You talk about, you know,
Yep.
events that feel like
Hmm.
major championships, that is in the conversation as well. So, um, I just like him. We'll see what happens. PGA, Aronimink. Joe, you know awful lot about this place. You should be able to predict someone who can perform well there.
Uh, I'm going out on a limb with this one, but maybe not that far out on this limb. I'm picking Justin Rose. Yes, not the first name you would have thought of, but there's a method to my madness. So Justin Rose is coming off an absolutely amazing performance over the last 2 years in major championships. At age 43, 44, he's now 45. Okay, so barely lost out in a playoff to Rory at the Masters last year, tied for 16th at the Open Championship, tied for second at the 24 Open Championship, tied for sixth at the 24 PGA. He was in the mix. He was fourth in Ryder Cup points for Europe and a stalwart of that team. Justin Rose in Philadelphia won the tournament, the PGA Tour event at Aronimink in 2010. 8 years later, after a Gil Hanse restoration, finished second to Keegan Bradley. And oh, by the way, he happened to win a U.S. Open at Marion in 2013, where he is a member, a dues paying member, comes back every year, brings some buddies, gets to play Pine Valley and Marion and others in the area. Uh, I'm all in for 45-year-old Justin Rose taking the PGA at Aronimink this year.
Horses for courses, Justin Rose. That's some pretty good history at a place. Um, Problem is, Joe, how similar is it going to be from 16 years ago when he played the AT&T there, and let me do my math here, 8 years ago when the BMW Championship was played there. By the way, won by Keegan Bradley. I don't know if you said that. Um,
Yes.
how about that? That would be a pretty good story as well. Um, so I don't know, just sort of an unknown, a place that the tour hasn't seen in quite some time. Um, PGA always feels like the best seem to rise to the top. Ball striker city, and who else would fit that mold but the best in the world? So I got Scotty Scheffler winning back-to-back PGA championships. Um, he has to appear on this list somewhere. You have to think he's going to win at least one major in 2026, given his continued excellence. And you talk about unflappable. I mean, the guy is as robotic as they come. With as unconventional of a swing that he has, his consistency is machine like. So I I think the easiest one for him to maybe get on here at a course where we're not sure really what the advantage is going to be just yet. Um, the best in the world, Scotty Scheffler. I'll put him in for PGA.
Well, you're not going to get a lot of argument from me, except I just think Justin Rose is going to figure out a way to get it done.
Spectacular
Um,
story that would be.
See if I put up my money where my mouth is with a wager.
Yeah,
on
do
that.
do it sooner than later before the he starts playing well and your odds decrease.
But I haven't forgotten about Scotty Scheffler with my first two majors picks. If we're jumping into the U.S. Open at Shinnecock Hills, Scotty Scheffler is my pick to win.
Hmm.
I feel like he's got extra incentive because that now is the only major championship he hasn't won. He has come very close on several occasions. And in addition, yeah, weird stuff seems to happen at Shinnecock. And there is no greater player who's more unflappable to handle whatever comes along than Scotty Scheffler. It is absolutely a ball striker's course. And if the wind is blowing a little bit, we don't even talk about Scotty in the wind, but I mean, the guy grew up in Dallas and knows how to play in the wind. So, all things being equal, lots of interesting contenders, including now, well, perhaps Brooks Koepka would would be in the mix, having won there the last time the tournament was there. But nope, Scotty's my pick for the U.S. Open.
Did he play uh the last time the US Open was at Shinnecock? Do you know that answer off the top of your head?
I do not.
I'll see if I can look at that real quick. If the audience can bear with me. It doesn't look like it. Um, Not that that really means anything with him, but uh, I don't think he was in the field. He was obviously just getting going in his career at that point in time.
Yeah, we were talking about you know some of these guys that are just waiting to, and we're going to get to some breakout performance very soon. But Scotty had a wonderful 2021, just didn't win. But he was acknowledged as one of the better players on tour.
Hmm.
I don't know when he started his pro career. Maybe you've found that, but
Yeah, he played in um, three PGA Tour events in 2018, mostly Corn Ferry at that point in time. Same for the next year. He played the U.S. Open in 19 and missed the cut. So let's see if he has had 23 starts on the PGA Tour uh, in the 1920 season. So
oh, okay.
that's when he got the ball rolling there.
So he was building momentum at that point, and
Speaking of building momentum, Joe, my pick for the U.S. Open is a guy who is riding some serious momentum from the end of last year, and that's Cameron Young. I like Cameron Young to win the U.S. Open. Um, Hits the ball far, knows how to win now. It was obviously a hero at the Ryder Cup, not too far away in a losing effort for the Americans, but not too far away from Bethpage. Uh, we'll see him get probably a good amount of support at Shinnecock as well from the U.S. Open crowd. Uh, I think he thrives in this sort of difficulty. And again, floodgates. I think it's time for him to really take the next step in his career and show what he's made of. Now that you got the win, now that people are really in on his game, I think he's top 10 in the world now. Um, I expect him to continue building off that success, and his game is um, among the elite when it's turned on. So it would be cool to see him now put the put his foot in the gas pedal and become one of those guys on tour that uh, everyone fears when he's in contention. I think he's capable of it.
good pick. There's the New York connection. There is, all of that good vibe left over from Bethpage and being out on Long Island and the rest of it, and him playing a lot of golf and growing up all over New York. And it's almost like a lot of us have forgotten what a factor he was, major after major after major.
Right.
And then all of those runner-up finishes on the PGA Tour, where you're like, gosh, this guy hasn't won yet he's one of the five, maybe 10 best players out there. It does happen from time to time. And yeah, if you're, going to go to that second page of the leaderboard, so to speak, uh, Cameron Young is a very good pick.
Just hangs around. Yeah, so I had it wrong in terms of world ranking. He is 20th now. I think he finished up there in the FedEx Cup. Maybe that's what I was looking at for last year on tour. But um, number 20 in the world. Yeah, always hanging around. Feels like a moment, Joe. It's like it could be. All right, last event of the year, the Open Championship, Royal Birkdale.
Okay. A guy that was somewhat forgotten last year, but I don't forget about his record in the major championships, Xander Schauffele. Why not Scotty Scheffler to defend? It's pretty hard to win two majors in a year, and Scotty did it last year. And okay, but Xander is an incredible talent that hopefully has put those injuries, which cost him 8 weeks early in 2025, and even after he came back, was just not the Xander that we had seen for most of the past 8 or 10 years, but especially 2024, when he won the Open Championship, won a bunch of other big titles, including the PGA Championship. Um, and will he get back to 2024? That's going to be really difficult to do. But if he can get back to that standard that he's had, Royal Birkdale, host for the 2026 Open Championship, probably the most straightforward of all the Open venues. I just think by the time July rolls around, he will definitely be in mid-season form. He won late last year, a PGA Tour event in Japan. And again, boy, when I look back at all of those top fives and top eights in major championships dating back a bunch of years, I like him to be in the mix again.
You know what? My guy here is going to be a hometown guy, and that's Tommy Fleetwood. I think when you think about opportunities to pick off a major for him, uh, they're increasing. He's number two in strokes gained on tour last year, maybe his best year on tour. Finally broke through and got a win. Tremendous success. Royal Birkdale, Joe. It seems like it's one of those places where straight off the tee is good. Uh, Something like 100 bunkers out there. So knowing where your ball is going to be, and iron play, and that tends to be a strong suit for Tommy Fleetwood. Um, the crowd will be on his side. He is free of that, getting a win under his belt pressure. The major championships obviously have a different pressure. Winning an Open Championship in England, probably a pressure that you and I would never understand. Uh, but again, you talk about a guy who's built for it, is ready, and is playing as good of golf as he has in his entire career. Uh, the crowd really getting behind him and rooting him on. Fleetwood, I think, would be another tremendous story and good winner, and I think he's got a chance.
He's been so phenomenally talented for so long, proved it under pressure in the Ryder Cup. And it was such a step backward last year to see him not come through at crunch time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not one of those guys. You know what? I tip my hat to the fact that he was right there, tournament after tournament after tournament. A couple times he was pipped by just better play. A couple times he was his own worst enemy, but he was there week after week after week to finally take a sledgehammer to all of that and win at Eastlake. I mean, all of golf rejoice. They know what a great guy he is and so deserving of that. I was right there looking on as he was trying to break the all-time scoring record at Shinnecock in 2018, putting out on the last green with a makeable putt, and it somehow stayed out. Had to be content with tying the mark of 63 then. The guy's just been fabulous forever. And again, this just could be a gigantic year.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. His history at Shinnecock too. Maybe a popular pick there as well for people considering how far his game has come since then. So something to think about for sure. And he was the last time we were at Royal Birkdale, T27 for Mr. Fleetwood there. So in the
Respectable.
mix,
Yep.
respectable.
Yep.
Third round 66 to get himself back into the tournament. Yeah. How about, won't go as in depth on these guys, but someone you expect to break out in 2026. So breakout player of the year, and maybe your overall player of the year. Do you want to do overall player of the year first, since we just got through the major stuff, assuming that would be one of those guys that you picked?
That I can do in 2 words. My overall player of the year will be Scotty Scheffler.
Okay. And I've got Cameron Young. But let's see somebody put it on him. Get a win at the U.S. Open and maybe pick off a couple more and challenge Scheffler. He's already won up on the field, given he's already won this year. So it's an uphill climb, but if Cameron Young can have a full season of the type of form he had in the last quarter of last year, then let's see. All right, breakout player of the year and maybe a comeback player of the year, Joe, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay. Little different levels of breakout, meaning never done anything and suddenly we hear of him, or has been a good player, but now he's going to really be a great player, all of that. And just the 3 names that came to mind after sifting through a few facts and figures. First one for me is Maverick McNeely. Breakout player of the year, meaning he has had a nice career so far that has been a slow ascension since being one of the great collegiate players at Stanford to, just having some challenges with high finishes and finishing where maybe his potential seemed to indicate that he would finish. He finally got it done. I'm going to say it was at the RSM in 2024.
24.
Winning at Sea Island seems to be a good thing for folks at a fabulous resort. And in 2025, he was even better, although he didn't win. But he wound up playing so well over a 2-year period that he was 10th in the standings for Ryder Cup points. They take 12 guys. He was 10th. Nope. Keegan Bradley passed him over along with numbers 11 and 12. And I think that's going to be incentive for Maverick McNeely to jet to that next level and say, hey, come on, I'm playing at this level. Now I want to be recognized in the mix over and over. I think this will be the year that he breaks out with those kinds of performances. 2 other names fairly quickly. One has come over from Europe, a UK golfer with a little more of an Italian-sounding name, Marco Pengi. Sorry. Obviously, I haven't seen him enough, but I did notice, he was in the news. He's playing the U.S. Tour right now, the PGA Tour, and he happened to win 3 times on the DP World Tour last year. Phenomenal golf swing, hits it a long way, all of that stuff, and he's shown he can win. Relocated to Florida and was in the news this past week by saying he's very happy to now be a member to play and practice at Old Palm, where a number of Brits and Australians have settled, and wonderful place in the Palm Beaches. But he got turned away for membership from a couple other clubs. Oh, some people were shocked, and I'm like, Marco, it's okay. You can be a good sport about it. Old Palm's a good place to land, but there is so much money and so much competition for folks, Wall Streeters, hedge funds, private equity people trying to get into the best clubs in the Palm Beaches. Yeah, don't worry that you couldn't get in right away. Prove yourself on the PGA Tour for a year or two, and those memberships will suddenly open up again. Finally, a guy who we just love the name because it sounds so all-American, Johnny Kiefer. And Johnny had started off very well this year following a phenomenal year on the Korn Ferry Tour in 2025. He was their player of the year, won almost $1 million on that tour last year, went to Sea Island and the RSM and tied for seventh in 2025. Um, just seems to be getting better and better and better. Made the first two cuts of this year, tied for 61st at the Sony, tied for 27th at the Amex, and an extra boost, Johnny Kiefer, my next door neighbor here in Scottsdale, who comes down with his wife and lovely border collie for the winter, is was an investor group of guys that pulled their a little bit of cash to make sure Johnny had some folding green while he made his way onto the tour. So this neighborhood is rooting for Johnny Kiefer. I can tell you that.
Here's Johnny. All right. Johnny Kiefer. Uh, um, yeah. Uh, who, Maverick McNeely. I remember last year going into the Masters, he was 10th in the world, and I was kind of like, where did that come from? I guess he had finished runner up at the Genesis and T3 at the Valero right before the Masters, just kind of getting on a roll. But that surprised me that he was that high in the world ranking at the time. He finished T32 at the Masters and third the next week at the Heritage. So, he is a contender. If he had probably made the Ryder Cup team, maybe there would be much more, on
Yeah.
his people would be on his radar, or he would be on people's radar. But for a little bit there last year, he was kind of the darling that a lot of people picked to do big things, and it never really materialized like people had anticipated. So this could be his year. For my two players of the year, or sorry, breakout players of the year, first is a guy that, especially in major championships, he always seems to be in the mix. And I get a lot of influence here from our good friend Nick Edmond because he picked him, I believe it was last year at the Masters to do well, and he did do well, making the cut in all of the major championships. Aaron Rai from England, just kind of always right there. Never really done, anything. He has one win at the Wyndham in 2024, but outside of that, it hasn't been a scenario where Aaron Rai has really been a guy that people uh, are on the lookout for on a week-to-week tournament basis. But he just sort of shows up on the leaderboard. And last year in the majors, we had Aaron Rai, T27 at the Masters, T19 at the PGA, T33 at the US Open, T34 at the Open Championship. So didn't finish outside the top 34 in the majors in 2025. Ended the year, his final 7 events, he didn't finish outside the top 47. That included a T5 again at Wyndham and a couple of top 20 finishes at the Travelers Championship and the Hero. So he is poised to continue on his successful 2025 season. He's qualified right now to play at Sawgrass and the Masters and the Open Championships. So he's got some good opportunities to make some noise and make some hay in some big events. I like Aaron Rai this year as a potential breakout candidate. The other guy is someone who's picked off a couple of tour events at some weaker fields, but again, could become a more of a well-known name, especially if he's able to sneak on the President's Cup team. Young guy Garrick Higo, Joe. You remember he won the Palmetto Championship at Congaree, and then he also won. Let's see, his other win, I believe, yeah, 2025 last year, the Punta Cana Championship. So he's a two-time PGA Tour winner that I don't feel like many people even know. Um, I guess maybe because of these lesser profile tournaments that he's won, but he's 12th in the President's Cup standings, South African. Um, Again, 26 years old. He finished last year, uh, really cleaning up in the FedEx Cup fall. His final four events of the year, he didn't finish worse than seventh. He was T7 at the Procore, runner-up at Sanderson, and T4 both at the Bay Current and the Worldwide Technology Championships. So he's shown the ability to be among the upper tier of the low tier, if that makes sense. Can he get enough starts and play well enough to certify his status as a tour regular and a someone who is in the mix more? He's only qualified right now for the Players Championship. Doesn't have qualifications for any of the majors, but maybe he goes to Sawgrass and does something, and people start to realize two-time tour winner Garrick Higo is just starting to come into his own and could be somebody to watch. And yeah, then watch out, get him on the President's Cup team, make some noise there. Could be somebody that is a breakout in 26.
Again, hard to argue with either of those two picks, especially the reasoning, the logic behind it. Aaron Rai is one of those guys who when you would tune into the DP World Tour, like, oh yeah, there's his name way up on the leaderboard again. Maybe it's Thursday, maybe it's Saturday, whatever. Like, just one of those guys that seems to play well everywhere, every week. So more appearances on the PGA Tour, and it's just probably going to see similar results. There aren't many more names that are fun to say than Garrick Higo. Hi, Higo. I mean, it's just kind of one of those like a beer drinking buddy. Okay, well, whether he drinks beer or not, unquestionably, I've always been intrigued by some of the old lesser lights who have won twice. You can always point to somebody and say, the guy had one lucky week on the PGA Tour, unbelievable putting run, or this happened, and he won. It's harder to do that with somebody who's won twice. Yeah, like, what, he catch lightning in a bottle twice?
Right.
I'm thinking of a Swede that won at Tucson in the BC Open named Gabriel Yetsted. A lot of consonants in that last name. And a couple of others that just, yeah, all right, these guys won twice. Higo was a name that was one to look out for a few years ago, finally realizing his potential. And now, as you say, he just needs to step it up a little bit more in the events that more eyeballs are on, and could well see him as a breakout guy this year.
Yeah.
So finally, we're going to hit our comeback player of the year. One or two names, and part of this is here's who we're hoping for. Part of this is here's who we're predicting. In my case, I've got two names. First is well known to everybody, Max Homa. He's also a fun name to say. Why Max? We root for him, and also he has come back before from the depths of absolute rock bottom. He figured out a way to turn his game and his life around and did it very successfully for whatever, a 4-year period. Really, really lost a lot of confidence with everything that came with it over the last 12, 15 months. Um, if you've done it once, I really believe you can do it again. I thinking Max Homa will be one of those comeback players of the year. Another Californian, Sahith Theegala, who was one of my favorites for a couple years in a row. Marvelous player at Pepperdine in college, hit the ball a mile, big smile, and big personality. Finally did break through with a win at Silverado, but many top three, top five, top 10 finishes elevated his status. Last year, wound up with an oblique injury that affected his swing for a good while, a lot of two-way misses. Um, it just went south, and he had to take time off. Never really did find form when he came back in. So called 2025 a lost year, has come back this year, started with a tie for 31st at the Sony, tied for 8th last week in Palm Springs at the Amex. Um, he is not in any of the majors right now or any of the signature events, so he's got to play his way back up into that kind of form. I think he'll do it.
Yeah, both of those guys are so popular. Even if they're not playing well, they've earned the fandom of a lot of people, and it would just be great to see them playing and back in the mix more this year. Um, Similarly for me, and I would love this to be the comeback of the century, Joe. Jordan Spieth. It's things are lined up for him to fulfill a promise of a return to form. His wrist is finally healthy. We've got Royal Birkdale, where he won the Open Championship on the schedule this year. It's all feeling good for Jordan, and lining up well. He's already had one start under his belt this year at the Sony, and he finished T24, and he shot in the 60s every round. Great start. Can he find something, or has he found something even that will allow him to? It's not like he's not been in the mix uh, in high profile events, but can he get one or two? Can he win again and show flashes of the player that we thought was another once in a generation type guy? Not that he's not. He has the trophies to back that up, but he's qualified for Sawgrass, the Masters, and the Open. He's bound to get a sponsor invite or two. We know that about Jordan. If he's not in a field. But as great writer Kevin Van Valkenburg, now with Friday Golf, said in a recent article, with Jordan Spieth, it's the hope that kills you. We all have it. Will we see it? I would love for that to be the comeback story of 2026 on the PGA Tour, and return to form with Jordan Spieth.
Al, as a golf media person, we're not supposed to root for anybody, try to maintain an air of neutrality. As a golf fan, there's nobody on the PGA Tour I root harder for than Jordan Spieth. He has all the money he will ever need. He has a family. He has been unbelievably successful. If he decided to become a plumber tomorrow, he would still have had a Hall of Fame golf career. I just love the way he plays golf. It's like a kid and mischief. He just finds ways to mess up, get into trouble, and then get out of trouble. And as a quotable figure, talking to him one-on-one or sitting at a press conference, it's just magical. It's gold every time with Jordan. Yep. The golf fan in me is rooting for him to be comeback player of the year.
Would what do you think, his chances at Aronimink? You feel like that's a golf course that could suit him?
Yes. Aronimink is a big ballpark. Now, because they're playing it in spring, the rough is going to be up. It's going to be thickish. Um, Maybe not like Oak Hill was in 23, but it'll put a little bit of a premium on driving, but he can go find it. He's not going to be losing the ball in trees or water, wetlands, anything like that. And the greens are terrific, a terrific set of Donald Ross greens that Ron Pritchard, but then especially Gil Hanse, lavished care on. And you know, when things are going well, nobody makes more 20-foot putts
Yeah.
than Jordan Spieth. So yeah,
Well,
I would think
that
that would be
being the one he hasn't gotten
good
for the
fit.
career Grand Slam, that
Yep.
that would be the story of yeah, this.
Well, we're not too far away. Yeah, we shall see.
All right, Joe. It remains to be seen, I guess. By the time this podcast comes out, another tournament will be in the books, and we'll maybe know more about where things stand on the tour. But it'll be fun to watch all year long. Fun to watch the ladies too in the LPGA and some of those places they're playing. But who comes out as the breakout star or the player of the year on that tour? It's always fun to see. But we'll return, I guess, to these picks later in the year and see how we're doing, especially at each of the majors. Were we? Do we have
Was
the stones enough to put a wager in now? Maybe I might just do that for fun, Joe. Take these bets, these picks that I've done, and throw out $5 or something and see where they
okay.
shake out. Put my money where my mouth is for real.
All right, there you go. I got a DraftKings 10 minutes from my house. The
You got the real
sports
thing.
book right next to the TPC, so no excuse not to do it.
Okay, if I
But
can't find the bet, I'll Venmo you money to go make a bet for me.
all right. Well, we'll see if our crystal ball was cloudy or clear, and looking forward to seeing the season unfold.
All right. Thanks again for the conversation, Joe. We'll talk to you next time.
Okay, Al.